So there's this thing that happens when we first start setting boundaries. I've dealt with it. I've seen students deal with it. My clients deal with it. Friends deal with it. Acquaintances deal with it. Pretty much anyone that I have encountered who is new to boundary setting encounters this fear. And it is a deep, deep, deep fear, terror actually, that we are going to have someone unhappy with us. We have been the ones who compromise, right? We have been the people pleasers for X number of years, however long. And so we're the ones who keep the status quo. We're the ones who keep everybody happy. We're the ones who have taken it upon ourselves to manage the world's emotions and just, keep everybody fucking happy. So we figure that, well, I'll sacrifice because I know I can survive. I'll be unhappy because I know I can handle that. I'll be mad because I know I can handle that. And so we avoid setting boundaries because we don't want to make someone unhappy. We don't want someone unhappy with us. We don't want someone unhappy. We can't handle the idea that we have done harm in any way, what we perceive to be harm, which is making someone anything other than happy. Now, this comes from some trauma that we've had in our past conditionings because of, traumatic relationships or traumatic events or whatever. Now, I am trauma informed. I've gone through training for it, but this is not a trauma related podcast and this is not a trauma episode. So I'm not going to touch that. What I do want to address, what I ultimately want you to take away from this podcast episode is that boundaries actually serve your relationships and serve you and serve both parties involved, all parties involved in the relationship, contrary to what our fears may be telling us. So how do boundaries serve everybody? Well, you're going to hear me talk in my book, in my free webinar that's coming up, in my course, all about the bubble. When you know your values, your standards, and your boundaries, your outer perimeter of your bubble is clearly defined and established. And when you have a bubble with the outer shell, established instead of just wide open fucking space, it creates a sense of safety and security because you know exactly how things are going to go inside your bubble. You can dance, you can sing, you can paint whatever fucking color you want, you can scream, you can cry, you can be. You're free to exist fully as yourself in your full self-expression when your bubble is clearly defined. Your bubble clearly being defined also tells everyone else in their respective bubbles how things are in your bubble and how things are in their bubble too. So when everybody has their bubbles clearly defined, there's ground rules. Ground rules are set for the dynamic of the relationship. When you don't have a bubble, you don't have boundaries, you don't have any of this clearly defined, birds of a feather flock together, right? So people without boundaries tend to be connected to other people who either don't have boundaries or don't respect boundaries, and it turns into utter chaos because everyone is just floating willy-nilly through life, bumping into each other, flipping each other's craft tables, stomping on each other's, succulents, all that kind of shit. And it's just nothing really works because there's no clear communication. There's no clear ground rules because nobody is setting the standard for how they want to be treated or how they're going to treat other people. And takers tend to call in the givers, and the givers tend to give too much. And is this sounding familiar? Is this resonating? Because this was my social life for a lot of years, and I'm sure it's probably been your social life at some point. So say you're in that social dynamic, right? And you're starting to recognize, oh shit, I don't have a bubble, I don't have boundaries. And yeah, my family doesn't have bubbles. Nobody in my life has a bubble. So you want to start laying the groundwork and constructing your bubble, right? We have this fear, as I stated at the beginning of the episode, we have this fear that we're going to upset people. We don't want to make anyone unhappy. So part of us being the good-hearted, big-hearted empaths, highly sensitive, people pleasers of the world that we are, part of our buy-in to create our bubble and set boundaries has to come from how is this serving everyone, because we can't do anything that just serves us. We'll get there eventually. But at this point, at this stage, at the very beginning, part of the buy-in has to be understanding how doing this, because it seems so selfish, actually also benefits the world around us. So when you're creating your bubble, always, always, always come back to, how is this work serving, not only serving me, but also serving the world around me? I'm setting an example for my loved ones. I am setting an example for my kids. When I create a bubble, it gives other people, it shows them what's possible, that they also get to create a bubble. I am setting the standard for how I treat myself and how other people treat me. And it also shows other people how to do it for themselves. This is part of the buy-in in order to keep you moving through this, through the discomfort, because there are going to be people who are upset with you. There are going to be relationships that leave your life. There are going to be huge, huge monumental shifts in your life, your career, your relationships. Your entire life changes when you start setting boundaries and get clear on your bubble. In order to get you through that, you always have to come back to why you're doing it. And part of your why has to be, how is this not only benefiting me, but also benefiting the world around me? And it is. And my final thoughts on this. This is a boundary you can set with yourself right now. Other people's reaction to you is not your responsibility to manage. You don't have to build your bubble and build everybody else's bubble. You don't have to set boundaries and then micromanage how people respond to your boundaries. And this is not a collective group effort. This is not you don't have to take on, like in my last episode, you don't have to take on other people and their shit onto your shoulders. You have enough on your plate managing your own establishment and construction of your bubble. You don't have to explain how your bubble is benefiting everyone else. That is for you to know and understand to keep you moving forward with your personal development journey and your path to making your life the best that it can be. So just remember, stay in your lane, focus on yourself. Other people's reaction to you is not your responsibility to manage. Everything's going to be okay. I love you. Bye.